Hello everyone, TFCom here, coming to say hi to my commies out there. This video is pretty late, I acknowledge that, but I've been doing homework non-stop all day, and I still have more to do, but I didn't want to leave you guys hanging for the people in different time zones. Now, sorry, okay, there's not too much to update you guys on. I figured even if you've been watching my channel, you would know the updates, but I will get in here. This is my 7 months on T update. I did have a period of time where I missed a few, but that didn't affect me very much. It was an issue with insurance, whether they'll cover it or whatever. But yes, it's fixed. I am good. So, in this video, I actually want to talk about how to get on testosterone, or estrogen, if you are a trans female. Since no one talked to me about these things, and I kind of had to figure them out on my own. An important thing to notice is that you have to get a counselor who is willing to diagnose you as having gender dysphoria. Most of the time, counselors want to see you for at least 6 months, some for a year, before they will even consider diagnosing you. You also cannot be diagnosed by a regular counselor or a psychiatrist. You have to see a psychologist. I may have gotten those mixed up. You have to see a psychologist, psychiatrist. One of those two. Don't quote me on that. One of the two, one who has a doctorate, is the one you have to see. They're the only ones allowed to prescribe medication. Usually, some counselors may have one of those on hand so that you can see them, but in a lot of cases they do not. So be sure, don't go to one and that can't help you. The next step then is most of us won't even consider it until you are living life as that gender. For at least a few years, most of them. I had been living as a male for 5 years. They finally considered it, though part of that was because I was underage before and all that mixed up stuff. Because I came out at 14. Be living as that gender for usually a few months, maybe a few years. It all depends on the exact counselor you go to see. Testosterone shots are something that was definitely frightening for me, and I'm sure frightening for a lot of you. Because it is a shot, and I don't do shots. But here's how your first thing will go. Once you get the official letter from your doctor, you will need to find a doctor who is willing to do it. I had to go into Plano. Dr. Wright, Amy Wright, is an amazing one to see if you are in the area. She is more pricey than most of them, but she's one of the few that are willing to see transgenders. And when you go in there, after scheduling your appointment, insurance, I'm willing to say 99.99999% of the time, will not cover anything. Sometimes they cover blood work, which may work, but they rarely cover anything at all for these appointments. And you will need to come in every 5 months, every 6 months. It really depends on what your doctor wants. The first thing you do when you come in, after paying and everything, a nervous wreck, you go in and they will talk to you about the process of being transgender. And make sure you're sure of it, and you sign off a form saying, you know, this is what you want. You won't change your mind anytime soon. You won't sue them if you do change their mind. It is a guarantee thing, just to make sure they don't get in trouble. Then they will do blood work. For me, they needed 3 vials. Some people need more, some people need less. It all depends, I guess. and they will send those to testing. In my situation, they then gave me a prescription to get testosterone, and I went and got my vial, but it did not tell me how much to take or when to take it, which she did not want me to do. She said, wait until the blood work gets back, and then we'll see how much your body needs or doesn't need, depending on my levels of estrogen. So, you wait, which is very, very difficult. It's so tempting just to jam it all in your leg at once. Believe me, it is. But you go your next time, and typically they'll call you as soon as your blood work's in. Usually it's a few weeks or so. When you get your blood work in, you head back, and they will examine the results and tell you how much you need to be taking and when. Then they will also teach you how to give your first shot, which they teach you a saline solution, and then usually they'll give you your first shot when you're there. They want you to either do it in the left thigh, the right thigh, or in a certain location, which I'll have to show you. Right above the butt, right here, or so, like right here, lower back, where a tramp stamp would be essentially. A little bit over from that, where the fatty tissue is, that's where they want you to give the shots. You're supposed to alternate it, like maybe right hip, left back, right hip. It can be in any order you want, just do not do the same 1-2 times in a row. That's what they basically say, because your body needs time to rest. Okay, that's a little better. Basically, it is just as simple as that. You wouldn't think it would be. First thing you do, they have an alcohol swab, which they will teach you all this, so don't be freaked out too much. You can buy them, or I'm sure you can use rubbing alcohol. I'd recommend getting the alcohol swabs, which, let me show you how those look. This is, of course, the brand I use. You don't have to. I have Curade, which, letting go away. Yeah, Curade. And when you rip it open, you know what, I'll show you on the video. I'm gonna waste one. Okay. Rip it open. It has a little cloth in there, and you will rub it on the part that you want to give a shot at. So let's say we rub it on our thigh. All over our thigh. Cool. You then clean the top of the vial, which I guess I can take out for you guys too. Just a minute. Okay, the vial. I cannot tell you how estrogen looks, but this is how testosterone vial looks. It has the typical prescription format. Testosterone, it has your name, your address, and everything, which I will not be showing. And then you open it. And when it first comes, it looks like this, with the piece on top. You break that off, which is hard to rip, believe me. Do not worry, you are not breaking it, which is what I thought. Then you get your little vial. This is the large size. It is a 10 milliliter. Usually they give you in 5 milliliters, but if you use GoodRx, which is a prescription discount thing, since insurance does not cover it, they'll only give you the discount if you buy the bigger bottle. So make sure you tell your place that. Then you clean the top of the vial. It's going to be with the same pad or a different pad or whatever. Make sure your hands are washed before starting all this. Then get a needle. I'm going to show you all this, so okay. You get your needle, This is how they will look. Some of them look a lot cooler and have multiple needles. In that case, put the bigger head on. But if yours only has one, do not worry, that's just how it came. Then, you tip your bottle upside down, put the needle in the soft piece right here, and you need to pull it back how much you need. And testosterone is very, very thick, so you keep having to bounce it back up, and it'll eventually take. And just push the air back in. I like to do that, and it bounces back. It does take a while, so you have to be patient with this. Okay, almost there. Don't be discouraged, this does take a while. I've just gotten pretty used to it. And some countries it is legal to get testosterone pills. In my country it is not. So shots are the best bet if you were in the US. If you were out of the US, they are still the best bet for, they work faster and better effect. So now you put your little thing back inside and you put on the cap. I did 1 milliliter, which is the usual. See, it's kind of a yellowish color. It's the usual people start with. Now you pull it one line down to fill with air. You pat it till there are no bubbles. You then take it to your leg, which I'm going to do it covered because I am not due for a shot. Take it to your leg. All I'm going to do right here. You stab it in. You pull back a little bit. If you do not have any blood pulled back, and it does not, it's actually kind of harder to pull back. Then you press it all in. Yeah, press it all in. And let me put it back in the bottle right here so I don't waste any. Okay. Just not want to go in the bottle because of all the air it has in it. Oh. Really not wanting to waste any of this because it's pretty pricey. I mean, it's worth it definitely, but it's pricey. Here, let me tear that off. Okay. And let me just clean my needle off. Okay. Put the cap back on. Cool. So after you stab yourself, then you need to get a certain thing. I got mine at Walgreens. You can get them anywhere. It is a needle disposal kit, which is required in the US. I'm not sure about other countries. It looks like this. Put your needle in, boink, and then you need to snap your lid on. And this is simply to keep it safe, so no one gets hurt. And they usually come in a plastic casing like this for extra protection. And like a trash can sort of thing. In most cases, in the best cases, they come in a box with certain ways to close it. This, 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 this. It is a very secure way of closing it. And that. I use the complete needle kit. And it says biohazard, of course. And this box right here, which is usually what they come in, actually proposes as its own shipping to pull back, to bring it back for proper disposal, which is required in the US. I'm not sure about other countries, but it is definitely required for us. So, let's say you finish putting your needle in the disposal kit. Okay. The next thing that's important to do is, for possibly any blood, you can use a cotton ball, toilet paper. I use these cute little makeup cleaners. Anything that is a fluff. And wipe off your leg, or wherever there may be, any blood that may be there. Usually there's at least a dot, so don't be freaked out if there's blood, because that is pretty normal. Okay. I actually have a special way of keeping my needles and testosterone, everything together, which is definitely a personal choice. I put them all in the container like this. Testosterone in the middle, needles all around. It's definitely a personal choice. I do not put any of these together. It is more to keep things in the same area, to know where they are and such. Okay. Now, close it all back up for you guys. And the next step is the easy step. Simply put a band-aid over it. It can usually be removed within a few hours, a few minutes maybe. I wouldn't recommend that, but definitely it can be removed very early, and it will work. Okay. So that's as simple as giving a shot is. I cannot personally tell you the process of getting estrogen, but I do know this. For the first 6 months to a year that you are prescribed the medication, it's all the same going through the counselor and everything. For your doctor, the first few 6 months or a year after doing the blood test, it all depends on what they want, they will put you on testosterone blockers, which prevents your body from producing more testosterone, essentially keeping you at your current state. It's up to the doctor, 6 months or a year, whatever they think your body needs. Then they will give you estrogen shots or estrogen pills, depends on your doctor's and your preference. I definitely recommend shots over anything else. And estrogen or testosterone, definitely shots. They will give you those, and you take those along with the testosterone blockers. And of course that continues for the rest of your life, just like regular testosterone would be. It's unfortunate you will have to have shots for the rest of your life, but you will be you. I mean, I suppose you could stop if you wanted to at any point in time, and it would just make you go back to your old state, partly. Certain things like voice change will not go back, but other things like maybe you'll start getting your periods back if you were a man. After a few months or so, I think 2 months, don't quote me on that, you can start getting pregnant or getting other people pregnant again. It's essentially pretty reversible in that way. But there is currently no law in the US. There used to be. It just got repealed. And the old law used to be you have to wait 1 year on all your shots. So for females, that would be both the testosterone blockers and the estrogen. And for males, that would be the testosterone. You have to be a whole year on those before you are allowed surgery. Now they recommend a year, but there is no law. It all depends on what your doctor thinks is best. The reason they wait this is typically if you're wanting top surgery, adding boobs, getting rid of boobs, the estrogen or the testosterone will either grow them slightly or shrink them slightly. And if you start doing surgery, it could mess with the process. Not enough that's a huge issue. It's just you would hate to go and get an implant and then you end up with giant knockers. Yes, that's a scientific term over here. No. Though of course, preference there. Bottom surgery, it's usually because your body will be more accepting of the changes. It has already started to change a little bit. For males, you will have your clitoris will actually grow slightly and look kind of like a teeny tiny little penis. And yes, I'm using the proper medical terms for that one. So hopefully YouTube doesn't take it down. For females, your penis will slightly shrink. Not enough, of course, but it will slightly. And so surgery, of course, will fix all of that in the end. But it's just easier to wait a bit to make sure your body is more accepting of the change and such. So I bet you didn't think this video would be that short. I mean, it's that easy. Well, there's a lot of things you go through. Society's expectations, as well as parents and friends. It is not easy, in most cases, for people to accept you for who you are. It's not easy for you to accept you for who you are. It takes a long time before you're even willing to do on medications, and usually even longer before you can be on those medications. It is very, 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 very difficult to find a doctor who is willing to accept you. Usually, even for a basic checkup, you call any doctor and they will not be willing to see a transgender patient because they say, we don't know how to deal with you. I mean, the flu is a flu no matter what. But they are not willing to in most cases. Any sickness you may have, even if they're willing to see you, they'll be like, oh, it's because those hormones you're on. Like, that's not how this works. Maybe some stuff down there could be, but something like a cough or strep or something along those natures, maybe a stomach ache, that's not because of your hormones. They just want an easy cop-out because they don't know how to deal with you. That's how they phrase it. We just don't know how to deal with you. Hopefully, the U.S. gets better at this sometime soon. We are working very, very, very hard in my community to promote transgender awareness. We actually have a very large transgender community, which is mostly consisting of females. And we meet actually at the Chamber of Commerce. So we're pretty big and influential in our neighborhood. It is still difficult for us. I think it'll always be difficult for us, but as it becomes more accepting for gays, you know, the L and the G are getting there. Just a matter of time before they remember the BT plus. I mean, people are not very accepting of bigender. Bigender, they're not very accepting either. Bisexuals, or transgender, or transsexuals. And that's something important I think I need to point out in this video. Transgender versus transsexual. So many people use the terms interchangeably. They are not interchangeably. Transgender is someone who has not had surgery, and they may or may not be on hormones. Transsexual is someone who has already had all the surgeries and basically look 100% their gender. Some people may never want a surgery, so they may be forever transgender. But transgender and transsexual are different. Gender is more mind, sexual is more your physical being. That's the way to think about it. Usually they should use the abbreviation trans with an asterisk in the corner, or just say trans, and it includes all. It's an umbrella term. But it's important to know these two are very different. And I mentioned bigender earlier, which is something people don't understand very much either. It means you are constantly two genders at the same time. And this is one that's harder for people to accept. Even a lot of trans don't accept this one. So you feel very, very male and masculine, but you also want to wear pretty dresses and you feel very feminine, or, you know, whatever. Like, that's just an example. But it's where you both basically feel like both at the same time. It's not to be confused with gender fluid, which is where you may feel anything, female, male, feel kind of like both, feel kind of like neither, and it's a circle essentially. Like, this one day you may feel super female, then maybe for a week from now you feel super male, but you don't really feel them at the same time, except for the both. But and it could be any change. You could only do the female and male ones, or you could only do both and neither, or only female and neither. That's fine too. It's all considered gender fluid. So I guess I feel like I need to go through the whole spectrum here. Aromantic is someone who has no romantic interest in anyone. They do not want a relationship. They don't want anything like that. They may be sexually active. They don't want to be dating someone or marrying someone. On the other hand, there's asexual. They may love relationships, but they do not want to be sexually active. They just do not have it. They're not attracted to anyone sexually, which is the thing that happens. There's gray asexual, which is very, very, very rarely they're attracted to someone. Some people just use the umbrella term asexual, but it all depends, of course. Then there's demisexual, which essentially means you cannot get it up unless you know the person insanely well. If you meet at a bar, even if you're drunk, your body will not let you get turned on. Some people say this is just you not being a slut. It's very, very different. It'll make you sexually attracted to your friends, but you are not going to have sex with them because you still have your sense of right and wrong and such. But it means you can only be attracted to someone who is insanely close to you. Insanely personal way. So after the ace and demis, then there is polyromantic and polysexual. Polyromantic is you are willing and accepting to be with multiple people at the same time, with all their knowledge. You may love two guys, you may love two girls, you may love a girl and a guy, or whatever. And your partners do not have to be together as well. They can be completely. But polyromantic means you are simply romantically attracted to more than one person, for relationship-wise. May or may not be sexual at all. You just like relationships. Then there is polysexual, which is where you are sexually attracted to that person, more than one person. But you may not want a relationship, you may just want one-night stands. And as long as that's okay with who you're with, then that's fine. Usually they use the umbrella term poly for these. Then there is homoromantic and homosexual, which are different as well. People tend to just call them homos, which is kind of seen as an insult. But homosexual tends to be the more accepted term. But this includes gays and lesbians as well. Homoromantic, if you get the bit of the theme that's been going on, romantic, you are romantically attracted to them. You like being in relationships, may not be sexually attracted. Homosexual, you are attracted to them romantically. You're attracted to them physically, may not be romantically. And believe it or not, you can be a homoromantic heterosexual, which means you want to be in relationships with people of your same gender, but you just don't feel sexually attracted to them. You feel more sexually attracted to people opposite gender. It could be for ease of sex or whatever. And it is definitely possible to be any mix of them. You can also be homoromantic and homosexual, which just is, the same both ways. Basically, as I was saying, there's also, of course, heteromantic and heterosexual, which is opposite genders. There is pansexual and panromantic, which is a lot harder for most people to know. Panromantic, we're attracted to any gender that there is, basically. It could be transgenders, cisgenders, with cis, which is CIS, is actually someone who was born in their current gender. Like a male who feels like a male. He has male physical organs and physical parts, and he feels male. That'd be a cisgender. Trans is, of course, as I chose the umbrella term for people who may or may not be on hormones or surgery or anything like that. So panromantic, they're attracted to relationship-wise transgenders, cisgenders, gender fluids, bigenders. Basically, they're attracted to anything I've mentioned so far. They don't care if you identify as neither, both, whatever. A lot of people like to say that they care more about your soul than your body. While I do like this saying, I feel like that's very entitled in a way, because they're basically saying, oh, you guys are worse than us because we care about the soul, you only care about the organs. And that definitely is going to start a fight. But, so there's panromantic and pansexual, which you can assume the difference between those two. There is omisexual and omiromantic, O-M-I, which is a lot less known than any of these. It means some. So you maybe only, it's similar to pan in that way, but you maybe only do certain people. Like you only like people who identify as both and female, or only ones who identify as male and neither, or whatever. Maybe only like people who have a female organs. It doesn't matter what they identify as, and it's all a thing there. And of course, romantic and sexual at the end of that. So there is definitely a large spectrum. Biromantic, bisexual, basically anything except for homosexual and homoromantic, and then heterosexual and heteromantic. Basically anything other than homosexual and heterosexual, people don't really think exist. You think you're kind of making it up. You're gay or you're not. Basically, is how they phrase it. But there is definitely other genders out there and other sexualities out there. And, you know, you have to be more aware of this. The world is changing. And we are more aware of the differences in our world that we weren't aware of before. And it's not that we are just acting different. These things have always been there. We just have a name for them now. So I really hope this video has enlightened you. And I really hope it's getting the word through to some people who did not know about these terms before, or how difficult it was to get on testosterone. You typically get disowned by your parents. In insanely lucky cases, you will not. My dad's kind of iffy there, but at least I haven't been disowned like I was with my mom. Typically, you will lose a lot of friends unless they're accepting. Somebody be like, oh, I'm fine with trans, and then you identify as trans, and they're like, I don't know. Better yet, I am a pan-romantic transgender, which you now know all those terms. Pan-romantic transgender means I romantically attracted to any gender, and I am a trans who has not had surgery. So, those are the two that I choose to share. Sexually, I'm probably more of a homosexual. I'm willing to date anyone, but I'm more attracted to the male body. Okay. Does that make me gay? Kinda. It's all up to, I guess, how you define it yourself. No one defines you. It's how you define yourself. And this video is actually probably longer than my others so far. This is just a very deep topic for me. It is definitely, if I could major in just gender and sexuality, believe me, I would. This would definitely, without a doubt, be my major. But you cannot, at least not at my current school. And I definitely would like to hear from all of you guys talking about the process in your own countries to get testosterone or estrogen, or testosterone blockers, or if pills are allowed in your country, or if it's only shots, or vice versa. Maybe there's a country that doesn't allow the shots. I don't know. I would love to hear about your own experiences with this too, even if you're in the U.S. Any problems you may have had, any success you may have had, and maybe one day I'll actually give myself the actual shot on camera. I'm not due for another 2 weeks, think I'm due on what date was it? I think I'm due on the 20th, so quite a while from now. But yeah, I would love to share the information with all of you. Just let me know what you guys are interested in seeing. And I'm sorry I haven't been doing a lot of voice updates, but I have been making videos every day, so that kind of counts a bit there. I love for you guys to see my videos. And of course, as always, my Twitter is at capital T, capital F, capital C, lowercase o, capital M, 598. So at TFCom598. And I definitely want you to sub to me. You guys are missing a lot of important things when you just do it here. And vice versa. If you're only on that, you miss a lot of things here. No, I will post a video every single day. That never will change. Twitter is more for meeting with the fans and personally talking to them. While you can message someone on Facebook, it's a lot less personal. I believe, at least, because you don't know when you're going to get messaged back, blah, blah, blah. Usually YouTube does not alert you if you have a new message, whereas Twitter does. And of course, it's all a preference thing there. I'm brand new to Twitter, as in I never had one before, like, a week ago, or a few weeks ago, maybe. I always thought it was kind of a stupid thing, but I guess it does get my word out there. So I really would love for you guys to follow me on Twitter, and definitely keep subscribing to my channel here, and just be involved in both, and it'll work great. Well, TFCom signing off. See you, my little commies.